Well, this organization and this conference could not have picked a better person to be the keynote speaker on the topic of reconciliation than Archbishop Tutu. He gave the word reconciliation a worldwide reputation when he was the chairman of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. And really, Desmond Tutu needs no introduction to this group. I'm sure you all know who he is and what he's done and what he's contributed to our lives. I will tell you one brief story. I met Archbishop Tutu in the first days of October of 1984, and I was working for Senator Kennedy as an aide and was included at a lunch between Senator Kennedy and Archbishop Tutu. At that time, he was the dean of the Anglican Dean of Johannesburg, and he was the chairman of the South African Council of Churches. And in 1979, he had called on the international community to impose economic sanctions on the apartheid regime. And so in early October of 1984, we were trying to find out ways to help the anti-apartheid cause. And Desmond Tutu invited Senator Kennedy to visit South Africa. That trip, of course, made history. But before we made that trip, Desmond Tutu made history because on October 15th, just 2 weeks later, he received the Nobel Peace Prize. Most people, when they receive the Nobel Peace Prize, that sort of ends their life. It's all over for you when you've gotten that kind of a prize. But not Desmond Tutu. He has been a fighter for truth and reconciliation and understanding, not just for his own people in South Africa, but throughout the world. He has had moral courage as well as physical courage that has inspired 3 generations of people that have had the privilege of living while he too has been here on earth. And so Desmond, on behalf of all of us who have learned from you and admired you and loved you, welcome back to Washington, D.C., and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. It's a little odd for a preacher to be sitting before, when you are supposed to deliver a speech, but it's probably an effort to get you to be brief. I'm not as young as I look. I'm quite decrepit, and you know one of the things about that is you are very repetitive. You tell the same stories, and sometimes you tell the story to the person who first told it to you. They named a school after me in the Netherlands. That's not an important part of the story. But the school was celebrating its 400th anniversary. And my wife and I went to the little village in Holland. And when we arrived, a little girl came up to me and said, "Were you here when the school started?" And I said to myself, well, I did think I was decrepit, but not quite that decrepit. It's a wonderful thing to be here. And I do want to commend the extraordinary young people who have thought up this idea. You remember the rabbi who is wonderful in using the stories of the Bible. But you remember when Adam was in the garden, he had a great time, you know. wonderful in the garden. But God said, no, man. It's not good for this guy to be all by himself. And so God said, well, Adam, you'll have to choose a mate from the animals. And so God made the animals come in front, to pass in front of him, and would say, what about this one? Adam said, nope. What about this one? Not on your life. And God put him to sleep and produced that delectable creature, Eve. And when Adam awoke, he said, wow, this is just what the doctor ordered. But actually, that's an incredible story about us. It tells very profound truths about us, that you cannot be human on your own. I wouldn't be able to think or to speak or to be human except through learning it from other human beings. That we are made for interdependence. I have gifts that you don't have, and you have gifts that I don't have. And you could almost see God rubbing God's hands and saying, voila! That's exactly why I created you that way. That none of us can ever be completely self-sufficient. If you were to be completely self-sufficient, you would be subhuman. That we are made for this delicate network of interdependence. And in our part of the world, we speak of something called Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu, the essence of being human. And we say a person is a person through other persons. And you know, you might think that this was just something sentimental. But you know, when you dehumanize another, lo and behold, whether you like it or not, in the process you are yourself dehumanized. Now that sounds again like one of these theories. But when we were involved in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, you heard something like this. We gave him drugged coffee. We shot him in the head and we burned his body. And it takes 9 whatever hours to burn a human body. And whilst the body was burning here, we were having a barbecue. And you say, what has happened to the humanity of anyone who could descend to such levels? But the fact of the matter is, and we put it this way, a person is a person through other persons. And it is exactly because of this that you want to be reconciled, to be forgiven when something has gone wrong in your relationship.